Hi, welcome to the General Psychology Summer Course. In this video, I want to hit some high points about the syllabus so that you can complete the syllabus quiz. You want to complete the quiz because you must do this in order to access the learning materials, which is where the meat of the course exists. First thing, of course, you'll do is click over here to access your syllabus. You can see you have the syllabus, which outlines general expectations, as well as the schedule, which I'll get to in just a moment. So opening up the syllabus, what you have are the general expectations, and I want to draw your attention first to this information about how to contact me. You have my cell phone number and my email, and you are welcome to use these to reach out to me. You're welcome to email anytime, but calling and texting, you have some reasonable time expectations there. My office hours on campus are Monday and Wednesday mornings, but I'm also happy to meet you at most reasonable hours, either on campus or at a Lancaster-based coffee shop where I often do a lot of my work. Now, another thing I'll draw your attention to is how we'll be spending our time in this course. This is an accelerated course, so we'll be moving at about twice the pace of your typical semester-long work, and so you can expect to spend about 8 to 15 hours of work. This includes working on your project, the weekly learning activities, as well as doing the reading. So just keep that in mind as you budget your time. I do want to emphasize that since this is an online course, you do need to make sure that you have reliable access to both a computer and the internet signal. And with that in mind, I also encourage you to save your work to an online service, maybe Microsoft OneDrive, or I often use Dropbox. That way, if your computer is damaged, you don't lose your work. And this is because when you are completing your work, I encourage you to create an online backup file. That way, if you're working on something and you lose your internet signal, all of your work isn't gone. So you want to save it in Word or something like that. And also be sure to run a spell or grammar check so that your work is as professional as possible. Something else I want to emphasize is how you will be evaluated. You will have a quiz every week. I'll talk more about that in a moment. You'll also have some work that you'll often be doing in collaboration with about 7 or 8 group mates, discussion boards, journals, working with your group to complete a Google Slides presentation. And then finally, there is a semester-long project that will culminate with a final paper. Scrolling down here in terms of college policies, I do want to emphasize this issue of academic integrity. And I do this because every semester I have at least one student, often more, engaging in plagiarism. And I firmly believe that this is done unintentionally, accidentally, because students are often unfamiliar with what counts as plagiarism. And so I have provided this tutorial link right here, which I strongly encourage you to complete. The link also exists on the Getting Started page of the course. And I want to emphasize that plagiarism, in essence, is any time you use a source's information without giving it proper citation. So unless it is explicitly your opinion, you really do need to cite it and give credit for where you got that information from. All right, another thing I want to emphasize in addition to this information about accommodations is the access that you and direct family members would have to mental health counseling. If you are experiencing, or maybe somebody in your family is experiencing a mental health issue or maybe an overwhelming amount of stress, I strongly urge you to call this toll-free number. You will immediately be connected with a person who can direct you to your best course of action. All right, now in terms of what we will be doing each week, I mentioned that there was a project, and in this assignment, you will be learning about a particular mental illness directly from people who are experiencing it. And you'll be doing that using first-person sources like blogs, video blogs, interviews, etc. Although you will be using a little bit of factual information, the meat of the paper is going to be coming from these first-person sources. There are several different assignments, and as I said before, it will culminate with a final paper. In addition to that project, you do have the weekly learning assignments. There'll be more detail on the weekly announcements that I make, but just in brief, I did want to draw your attention to the fact that each week you'll typically have 2 tasks. It might be a journal, a group discussion, or you may work with your group to complete a Google Slides presentation that you can then use as a study guide. And then finally, each week you will have a weekly quiz. And these are typically going to be 25 multiple choice questions. You have an hour to do it. And a key thing to keep in mind is that you do have 2 opportunities to complete each quiz. The average of your 2 scores will be kept, Now, if you do well on the first attempt or you're satisfied with your score, you are not required to take the second attempt. It's just there in case you were not satisfied with your performance the first time around. All right, so I've gone back to this syllabus page because I wanted to open up the schedule. What this is listing are the expectations for what you'll be doing each week. You can see there's 6 weeks. You have the general topics, the text assignment that's provided, and then here, these are all the required online resources. This would be an online reading, and then anything with a number by it is a video, and the number indicates about how long the video takes. And then in this final column, you will see all of the graded assignments. So some of them will be related to that particular week's learning materials. Other things are related to the Walk in Their Shoes project. Now, typically each week you will have work due midweek, and that is Thursday, the end of Thursday, and then all other assignments are due at the end of the week, which would be end of Sunday. I encourage you now at this point to take the syllabus quiz that is located on the Getting Started page, and then once you've successfully done that, you should go to the course overview. Thanks, folks.